So, tell me, how are you holding up? It must have been quite the whirlwind. Yesterday, a refugee from another country, and now a prodigy with a magic great enough to impress old Bushybeard. Good luck with that. I'm quite curious to see how things keep on with you. You're different. I noticed that the time we met. Anyhow, tell me, what do you make of this country now that you've had some time to look around? I figure it must be quite the change from Nerem. Shoot. Yeah, I can picture that. You know, this is exactly the reason why I love inns so much. The sky can rain fire out there. In here, you'll always meet laughter and good humor. Not to mention all the good-looking men and women. Absolutely. Though I think I've seen enough of this place by now. Of Enderal, I mean. There's a ship sailing for Calais next morning, and as it seems, it will be the last one for quite some time to come. Who knows? Maybe they still have a cabin to spare for a handsome treasure hunter. Oh well. This entire thing was more a coincidence than planned anyhow. The Order needed someone with skill and discretion. I was around. End of story. I never intended to stick around for much longer. Heck, me as an ambassador of the Holy Order, could you imagine that? Not one step further, O fair maiden. Drop your garment so we may both bathe in Malphas's holy light. Actually not that bad, don't you think? Oh, you're too kind. But you know, at the end of the day, I guess I'd probably lack both the pathos and the idealism for such a profession. You know, I'm aware of how these esteemed keepers up there talk about sellswords like me. I could save 30 virgins from a Myrid on Rampage. At the end of the day, they'd always say I did it for the money, because I wanted to bed the women, or whatever. I'm driven by inferior motives. While no matter what their actions end in, they are good guys, because they do things for the right reasons. If only they'd understand that it's results that matter, not intentions. What does the wise hermit say? Nothing is of less importance to the saved than the reason for their rescue. The only difference between a mercenary like me and a holy warden is that I'm at least aware of the fact that I do what I do for myself, and no one else. I'm trying to say that all those heroes and self-declared messiahs are no better than everyone else. In the end, we are all selfish, because we always act in accordance to what we think we have to be like. So yes, maybe the keeper saves the farmer from the bandits. But at the end of the day, he does it because he sees himself in a certain light. You know, the funny thing is that a lot of times, it's especially those who think of themselves driven by a higher purpose who are the really dangerous ones. They don't understand what drives them, and that makes them easy to manipulate. The only thing left to do for the capable hate-monger or tyrant is to somehow combine his own ambitions with the mental image of this person. And presto, you've got your perfect puppet, only waiting to dive into the next hail of arrows for their honor, their religion, or whatever they thought of this time. It's just so idiotic, you know? The world would be a much better place if everyone could just acknowledge that the only reason we're here is that we want to be happy. Yeah, seek bliss and avoid pain, as the wise hermit likes to say. And believe me, once you realize that that's how people just work, life is a lot better. Oh, yeah, I do. And this goal is called surviving. And if possible, to be able to enjoy a good glass of wine or an exciting night from time to time. Oh, Blazes, you make it sound so dramatic. Doing something for your own sake doesn't make you selfish. But yeah, basically that's it. I don't know, call it a feeling. But if there is such a thing as a universal point to our lives, then I'm pretty sure we won't find it within the pre-digested philosophies or religions most people believe in. And hey, I'd be the last one to reject this great truth if she were to knock on my door, naked and tits jiggling. But until then, I'd rather try and find my own answers. Really? I was half expecting you to throw insults at me. That's what people usually do when I tell them that. But I guess life is full of surprises. Anyway, I'll take my leave now. I very much enjoyed our talk, but the ship to Killet leaves before the first cocks crow tomorrow, and I want some more time to think about it. Well, it most recently gained a good-looking Aramese man. Maybe that'll make up for when I leave. Keep your chin up. Ah, there you are. Glad you made it. So, how was it? I heard quite some stories about this trial, and was never sure what to make of it. Yeah, I changed my mind. Come, let's go upstairs. It'll be worth it. So, wine or pipe? Chilean sweetwater tobacco. 100 times better than what they smoke here. Consider it a congratulatory gift for passing the trial. Nothing better than a good pipe and a nice sight to go along with it. It's always sad to see how few people can truly appreciate these things. Anyway, tell me, my friend, what is it that drives you? I've been asking that myself since we met. I mean, it's not like anyone's forcing you to play errand boy for Orenthiel, is there? And with your abilities, you could make a fortune as a mercenary. Not to mention the danger you put yourself in. Securing the excavation site, passing the trial, they certainly haven't been easy on you so far. Huh, I figure. In any case, it's interesting to see how you've gotten from being a magically gifted refugee to the center of all this. Kind of reminds me of a woman I used to travel with, Alicia. No matter where she went, she always ended up in the eye of the storm. That was 13 years ago now. By the wise hermit, time really is merciless. We got hired for the same job. Usually I work better on my own, but this partnership was refreshing in every aspect. It felt good to know someone's got your back for a change, especially with the kind of work I do. Which is why we decided to stick together after that first job. And it went great, at least initially. She was just too intense. That's the right word for it. She wanted everything, and she wanted it at once. The rarest jewels, the most handsome men, the best contracts. If you would have asked her to steal the Golden Queen's crown, she would have done it without hesitation, just for the thrill of it. We traveled together, and we had sex, so yes, according to most people's definition of it, we were a couple. That was, let me think, about 3 years. Yeah, we went to Araziel, Kira, Artwend, and one time we even fought a group of petrified on Millet. She fought as ardently as she lived. I don't know how I would have survived that fight without her. Oh yes, she was. I love a good adventure and earthly pleasures, but I can cope without them. I could always tell a difficult job from a reckless one, and that's kept me alive. Alicia pretty much lived by one principle. The more extreme the job, the better. With that attitude, I guess it was obvious that things would go south eventually, one way or the other. Well, she started expecting more from our partnership, our talks, and the occasional sex. As she saw it, you either go all the way or you don't go at all. I wasn't ready for that. Love as she defined it, yeah. Had it been for her, we would have married after that first night. That's a long story. Not one that puts me in a favorable light. At least if you like most people. Let's save that for another time. Split up. Yeah, that's one way to put it. But anyway, enough about me. What about you? Has there ever been someone in your life? Or have you always been the lone wolf? Oh my, is that how you think of me? Can't two good-looking adventurers have a nice chat on a beautiful evening without implications? But jokes aside, I think I know what you're trying to say. And as attractive as you are, I'm afraid I have to pass. Samara? No, I don't know. Maybe the entire thing with Alicia was enough for me. Sex is fine, but I guess I'm just not naive enough for anything else anymore. Love, love, love. People have such lofty expectations these days, really. Sometimes I think it would help us all to admit that there isn't that much that separates us from the apes. You say what's on your mind, I'll give you that. But as attractive as you are, It just wouldn't feel right. I don't know why. Now, come on. Let's not make this unnecessarily awkward, shall we? We're here, we're having a good talk. Isn't that enough for the moment? Why don't you tell me a little more about this trial? I heard you passed it together with that quiet girl, Kalia. What's she like? I've heard some stories about her. That's just life, I think. There comes a point when you've done all you can. My. We've certainly lost track of time, haven't we? I really need to hit the hay for a couple hours now. I'll have to go look for some new work tomorrow. And I've heard about a nobleman who's looking for a sellsword. That is, if Arenthiel or old Bushybeard doesn't have a new job for me by then. Say what you want about them, their pay is beyond generous. I'll see you around, my friend. Huh? The scar. Well, let's put it this way. If you one day end up in a Tal Galean tavern and 2 6-foot-tall Arazalian women invite you into their room, you should either damn well know who they are or make a run for it. Never heard of it? It's the capital of Araziel. At least if you ask the civilized people. Hands up. Guilty. Some rich snob had hired me back then to bring him a totem from one of the camps of the Free People. That is, the Arazalians who worship their ancestors' gods, instead of the Lightborn, and live as nomads. Since you're part Arazalian, I'll just assume you know a little about the conflict between the civilized and the Free People there. The assassinations, the blood feuds, and so on. The usual, if 2 sides both believe they're on the right side of history. No idea how much you know about Araziel, but the Free People have been in conflict with the civilized people, who do worship the Lightborn, for centuries now. Assassinations, blood feuds, and so on. The usual, if 2 sides both believe they know it all better. Anyway, obviously this job of mine originated from that feud. The totem belonged to a free tribe, and the snob wanted it in order to publicly defile it. So I got it for him. Oh, why, of course. I still cried myself to sleep months after that. Seriously, why should I? Both the free and civilized are so eager to bash each other's heads in, it's not like one defiled totem more or less would have made any difference. Correct. And I was a little drunk and a little lonely, if you get what I mean. Have you ever seen a pure-blooded Arazalian woman in her 20s? It's really hard to say no to that. In any case, as you already noticed, the whole thing went down differently than expected. My face made acquaintances with a table leg and 4 absolutely untender women's feet and hands. And of course the totem was gone, together with all my clothing and money. I guess I had that coming somehow. That's what happens if you ask your loins rather than your head in the wrong situations. Yeah. Oh, whoa, such a cold world this is. I present you my deepest scars, you thank me with naught but mockery. Be damned, O impish creature. But anyway, how does the saying go? A truly beautiful face can never be tarnished. And that's why you enjoy working with me. Yeah, I did. Why do you ask? That's a good question. I suppose in the end, it was just a hunch I had. Plus, all these civil wars in other countries didn't exactly invite one to stay. Well, I guess that depends on where you're standing. Of course, times can be tough, especially if you come to a new city or even country where you know nobody. But if you're good at what you do, which I am, there's always work, everywhere. And yeah, I don't eat God's tongue for breakfast, but it was always enough for a roof over my head when I wanted, and some other earthly pleasures. That's what life's all about, isn't it? Now, aren't you inquisitive? Let me think. I spent most of my time abroad in Kira, and also a couple of years on the Isles of Kile. And there was this mission that led me to Maiar Aranath once. What am I, a traveling tome? I'm afraid I'm not a very good storyteller. But Kira's great. The people there are so much freer in their way of thinking. There are the great bazaars, the palaces of the merchant lords, and the fortress of the mages' circles. But you just have to see it for yourself someday. Oof. Different. As beautiful as the Isles are, there's always this feeling of rush and competition. Have you ever heard of the game penny? On Kile, it's not a crime if a merchant tries to cheat a customer. It's the customer's fault if he doesn't see the fraud. But if he does, the merchant owes him a token penny. Bizarre, isn't it? But over there, it's common practice. Yeah, it is. I was there with a group of mercenaries. We were hired to get something from a tower in the old capital. Not a nice spot of earth, truly. There's this fog everywhere, and with every step you take, you have to be careful the swamps don't get the better of you. But of course, that's also what makes it exciting. Ta-da! Yes, I'm amazing. I know that. If being a merc doesn't work out in the long run, maybe I'll ask the Order to hire me as an expert on Pyrean railways. But no guarantee this thing won't drive us right into the next abyss. Anyway, I guess even with this thing, it should be a while till we arrive. Let's make ourselves comfortable. Sorry for the drama back there at the house. I guess I just didn't know what to make of the situation. I figure all of this is just wrong. But I'm repeating myself. If the High Ones were planning to confuse us, they definitely succeeded. We really should tell the Grand Master about this, and about what happened to Constantine. Still, we can't allow this to get inside our heads too much. What matters right now is the mission. And at least it stays exciting. Two daring adventurers who have gotten themselves into something they don't even remotely understand are plundering ancient ruins in search of treasure. Don't laugh, but this reminds me a little of my past, of my childhood. Not the part including mysterious corpses and crazed mages, of course. My sister and I, when we were young, we always used to go exploring in caves near our manor. Father always gave us a good scolding when he got wind of it, but of course that didn't keep us from doing it again. Right, because I never told you. Adila and I are not exactly close these days anyway, probably because we lost our bond somehow, after our father died. Yes, he did. Together with my siblings. Actually, Adila and I are the only surviving Dal'Vareks. All the others were murdered. No need to be. But I appreciate the thought, so thanks. In a sad way, a part of me is actually glad everything happened the way it did back then. It made me into a man, and it showed me what kind of characteristics have a tendency to drastically shorten one's life. Stubbornness. My father was a judge in the tribunal, you know. He was a hard man, who at least, after our mother died while giving birth to Adila, lived for only one thing: his principles. Justice knows no compromise. That was his great creed. No matter who stood before him in court, my father treated them all the same. Damien Dal'Varek, the epitome of justice. Yes, an extreme attitude for an extreme man. One day, the son of a highly regarded Archer Sublime stood before the 12 judges of the court. Valenzio Duran. He had murdered 2 whores, made them happy, as he called it, and it was obvious that he didn't feel so much as a hint of remorse. You know those kind of people, the ones who think that money and power entitle them to anything they want. Of course you can. 11 of the 12 judges voted for a verdict of not guilty, because they knew Valenzio's father was influential within the Relata. Only my father, of course, remained unshaken. 1 week later, our manor was robbed by 4 masked men who killed everyone. Servants, guards, my 2 younger brothers, all of them. Officially, they were bandits, who just happened to be running around with blades made of shadow steel. My sister and I only survived because we had snuck out for one of our expeditions. Ironic, isn't it? Of course, it was the only logical consequence of my father's actions. And what good did it do in the end? None. As we speak, Valenzio's enjoying himself in some brothel, with 2 whores and a bowl of grapes. But you see, there's no point in being angry about this. And do you know why? Because this is just how the world works. There's no divine justice, no system through which it's decided who lives and who dies. There are decisions and there are consequences. That's it. This is also why there's absolutely no point in fighting for ideals, the greater good, or whatever else you want to call it. First of all, because no one will thank you for it, and second, because people are stupid. That's the one universal rule that there is to this world. No matter how much you try to accomplish something, in the end, stupid people will destroy all you've achieved with no more than a snap of their fingers. Fight for the moment, and the moment only. Because unlike everything else, you can be certain of its truth. Do me a favor and read the Chronicles of Vin, then ask me again. No. But if he had wanted Valencio to die so badly, there would have been other ways. Poison, an accident, a hired killer. Just a hint of common sense. That's all he would have needed. But of course, none of that would have conformed to his sacred principles. Adela and I were still young when all this happened. A friendly family took us in, and my sister joined the Order of the Apothecary in the Frostcliff Mountains. But since then, we haven't been able to speak to one another. She raised a wall of ice around herself, so to speak, and fled into old family books and memories. But, anyway, enough about me. You're an orphan too, aren't you? How come? You never told me about that. You told me that the Creator's temple in Ostian had something to do with it, but what exactly happened? I see. I've had my share of those kinds of dreams too. In the one I had, I was always walking down an alley in Arx Harbor. There were figures dressed in rags and veils, cowering next to the walls. And even though I didn't want to, I had to pass by them. And when I did, they started to weep, and all at once tried to drag me over to them. I screamed and I fought. And eventually I came to realize that they all had my father's face. And then their skin would start melting from their skull like hot wax. Not a very nice image, as you can imagine. One day the dreams just stopped, though. I don't know why. But anyway, enough of this gloomy talk for now. We should get some rest. We've still got a long ride ahead of us. I don't say this often, but I like working with you. You're okay. You really are. Good night. Bad dreams? A lot. We got damn lucky. That raft Korek put us on was about as seaworthy as a paper ship. But thank the sun, that fisherwoman over there took us in. She's headed for Duneville, and we should arrive soon. Couple of hours. That spell Korek's mute buddy put on you must have been quite a doozy. They felt a blow to the back of the head would suffice for me. Guess I was the lucky one. Yeah. That guy should really go easier on the bottle, if you ask me. But it seems that the thousands who follow him see things differently. As if the high ones alone weren't threat enough. Now they have a self-proclaimed messiah to back them up. That's just peachy. Well, as I heard it, he thinks the cleansing is evolution. We become higher beings. We ascend to a new level of existence, so to speak. And he thinks the reason for the red madness in Enderal is that people still haven't learned the truth about the death of the Lightborn. They're still superstitious, so the sickness weeds them out. Natural selection. And yeah, it sounds absurd. I guess people always see what they want to see. I'm afraid so. According to the fisherwoman, the first of Korak's battleships have already arrived near Duneville. It'll take them a while to get the rest of their fleet over here from Narim, but still. Enderal isn't ready for this. Not at all. Most guards haven't tried their weapons on anything other than training dummies, or at the most, bandits. In other words, we're screwed. Well, I guess first of all, we should be grateful we made it out alive. I bet that if Korak would have known your role in all this, we'd be as dead as doornails by now. Once we arrive in Duneville, we should get back to Ark as soon as possible. I'm sure Arenthiel and the others have already written us off as dead. I suggest you ask the fisherwoman how much farther it is to the village. Well, I suppose first of all I'll go get my pay. Regardless of what transpired, we fulfilled our mission. After that, I don't know. War is an entirely different story, and ending up beaten to a pulp with a damned warhammer certainly isn't on my priority list. Maybe. The Order might be powerful here in Enderal, but compared to Narim's army, it's a joke. And maybe... On the other hand, if we don't manage to stop the cleansing from happening, it won't make a difference if I'm here or on Calais. Oh, my, what did I get myself into? I feel like a bloody marionette in a goddamn play. Ouch. Bad one. Can't say it isn't kind of cute, though. You know, there's one thing I just couldn't get out of my head since all this started. Does mankind deserve to be saved? I mean, have we as a species really made this world a better place? What have we accomplished apart from bloodbaths and wars in the name of the true gods or the right way to see things? And even now that we have a common enemy, we fail spectacularly to pull together. That's pathetic somehow, isn't it? Just pathetic. Heck, I sound like the biggest cynic alive. Let's stop here before it gets any worse. Go talk to the fisherwoman. You're really curious, aren't you? But yes, there is something that troubles me apart from the obvious. It's my sister. Well, I told you that we haven't talked much since, you know, since the thing with our family happened. A couple of moons before we met, I wanted to change that, and I went to see her at the League of the Apothecary in the Frostcliff Mountains. But she was gone, just like that, and no one knew where she went. It's been troubling me for quite some time now. It's probably nothing, but still, I'm worried. Now look at that. If that isn't the Holy Prophet. What are you doing here? Looking for some fun? Well, what does it look like? We're entertaining ourselves. May I introduce you to my friends? This is Asha, this is Leandra, and this is Moray. Asha's from Kira, you know. All praise Asha, Queen of the Desert. You should join us, my friend. We are having a lot of fun here. Hey, but we were just getting started. You are way too serious sometimes, you know that? There are times when you just have to indulge. I am enjoying myself. You should try that for a change, you know. Who knows how much time there's left for that? What are you doing here, anyway? Ah, right. Talking. Talking is good. Or is it? I forgot. Maybe I can't, yeah. Or maybe I don't give a fuck about Adila. Maybe I don't give a fuck about any of you. And I'm just waiting for the right moment to stab you all in the back. Who knows? That's the great thing about life. You can never tell exactly which way the wind blows. Ah, I'm not. What if what you're seeing here is my true self? And if it was, would you still bother pretending to care? Nah, you wouldn't. I think if you really knew me, you'd have been long gone. Friends. You just don't want to get it, do you? Let me think how I can make myself more clear. 3 words. I don't care. I don't care where my jobs come from and what I have to do as long as I'm getting paid. I don't care if the beggar in the front of the tavern eats his own shit as long as I can enjoy my beer inside. And I don't care if people who think they're important to me kick the fucking bucket, because I just don't care. Adila's dead? Fuck it. At least that means there's no one around anymore who knows what I really am. Alicia. She was the first one. I took what I wanted from her, and when it got too tiresome, I just left her behind. Like all the others, before and after her. Have you never wondered why I'm by myself? Loyalty, friendship, love. It's bullshit. We're born alone, we live alone, and we die alone. And I seem to be the only one who fucking sees it. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The high ones. Yeah, those goddamn high ones. When those thugs killed our family, she was so hurt, so lost, you know? But do you think I did anything to help her? All I cared about was myself. What Adila did, what she became, that didn't just happen overnight. I always felt that something was wrong with her, how she kept on withdrawing from the outside world, reading all these stupid books my father always read. But I never went to see her. I never wrote her. And you know why? Not because there wasn't time for it. Not because I couldn't cope with it myself. I didn't because I couldn't be bothered. Couldn't bother with her moodiness. Didn't bother with all the drama. I just couldn't care less. Just as I didn't give a fuck about Lycia. We were on a mission in Golden Forest, and had just set up camp for the night. That was a couple of nights after we realized that we had different expectations, so to speak. I went to get firewood, and when I came back, there were half a dozen bandits in the camp. Lycia was out cold. She was still alive. I saw it. She was alive, but I just ran. I just turned around and fucking ran. Does it matter? I didn't even consider fighting, not for a moment. Why? Because I never gave a shit about people, even if they were deluded enough to think otherwise. It's just like Adela said. My life revolves around one thing, and that is me. Jespar, the navel of the fucking universe. I don't know. I never went back. Never. Tell that to Lycia. Do you think it was any different with us? I saw you and felt there'd be money in helping you. And if that Korak had offered me my life against yours, do you think I would even think twice? You think we're friends, or whatever, but we aren't. If that's what you want to believe, go ahead. You think I'm something that I'm not, something I never was. I'm a sellsword, not one of the good guys. And you think that you know me, but you don't. Adela and Lycia, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, please, just go, okay? I need to get away from here. From this city, from these people, from everything. What? But we will. You found the Black Stones, and we'll use them, no matter how hard this Korak tries to stop us. But first of all, you should calm down a little. No offense, but you look like shit. Shock of shocks, because I heard you screaming. Plus, look, about that talk we had in Silver Cloud, that was a pretty disgraceful performance on my part. It's just that the past few moons were a lot for me to deal with. Let's put it that way. And what happened to Adela, it was the last straw. I guess what I'm trying to say is, sorry. I said a lot of bullshit down there, which you didn't deserve. What? No, of course not. Please, just let's not make this more awkward than it already is, okay? What? After all that, you ask me how I am. You never stop surprising me, I'll give you that. But, how am I? Honestly, I don't think I've realized, let alone processed what happened to Adela. I just try to keep going, I guess. There'll be plenty of time for self-reproach after we've lit this machine out there. No matter how big my part was in what Adela became, the High Ones used her depression to trick her into doing what she did. And they'll pay for that. But, be that as it may, Skyrim and the Archmagister asked for you. It's about this Numinos thing. Best you go see them as soon as possible. No, in the Chronicum. And one more thing before you leave. Kalia, the sad-looking girl. How do you feel about her? Just curious. Thanks for being honest with me. We'll catch up later, okay? Take care. It's a crazy world, isn't it? On our way to a forgotten city in the clouds, and I'm part of it. That just sounds surreal. But anyway, it's good that you're here. I wanted to talk to you. Do you have a second? You have a point there. How should I put it? I wanted to thank you. I'm not sure if you know it, but all that's happened since I plucked you out of that thicket on the Sun Coast, it did something to me. I think I've understood something, as corny as it may sound. It's hard to put into words. You know, I still believe what I told you that time we met at the Dancing Nomad. That we all act as we do because we hope it makes us happy. But somehow, in no small part thanks to my father, I've always considered responsibility and being happy to be contradictory. But actually, that's wrong. It's the exact opposite. In order to be truly content, we need connection. To a person, to a cause, to anything. If you never find that, you'll never find yourself. Yeah, I said that. And I still think it's true to an extent. You're on your own if you want to be. I'm responsible for what happened to Adila and to Licia, because I never wanted to be responsible. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But I can't change what happened. I'll just have to live with that. Maybe, maybe not. In the end, I can only speak for myself. The fact is, though, that I don't know, that it feels like I owe this world to be right here, right now, as part of something momentous. And I like how that feels. That surprises me. No matter how all this ends, I will have no regrets. The same goes for our friendship. That's what I wanted to tell you. Despite all the trouble we got ourselves into, I'm glad that our paths crossed. For whatever reason they did. Okay, now you did it. I feel stupid. But I know what you're implying, and as much as it hurts me to say this, I don't think it's a good idea. For neither me nor you. I just don't think it would work. I'm different, especially when it comes to love. And if you're like most others, I don't think I could make you happy. Our friendship, it just means too much to me to risk it for this. It's not about love. It's about all those ancillary things people associate with it. Expectations, false promises, jealousy. Look, there's so much going through my head when I look at you. So many things I want us to do together. Traveling, talking through the nights, being close to you. That's what I want. Not chaining ourselves to some kind of, I don't know, construct that other people created and expect us to abide by. I'm not making much sense, am I? I think what I'm trying to tell you is that I've never been a fan of what people call relationships. I'm different when it comes to that. And my way of loving is not compatible with most people's expectations. Well, what do you think? I mean, how can you seriously promise to someone that you'll love him or her forever? That you'll never again desire anyone else? Nobody knows what he's going to think, let alone feel 20, 10, heck, even 1 year from now. No, I don't. I'm only saying that there's no way of knowing how long it'll last until it does. Do you understand? Life is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen, especially when it comes to emotions. And I simply have a problem with people pretending they do. And it's not just that. Even if I were to love somebody with all my heart, I could never promise in good faith that I will never find myself at least physically desiring somebody else. In most people's books, that makes me a cheater. And it makes my feelings for this somebody less true. All those poems, the plays, the songs, they're all about the two of us. All or nothing. And until death do us part. But that's just not how real life works. If you're honest about it, I don't see why not. Love is one thing, sex is another. But this is not just about sex. What I don't like is compulsion, possessiveness, and lies. And for most people, that's what love seems to be about. Just like most people when you get to know them, don't you think? Yeah, maybe I am. In my experience, emotional bondage was never a good basis for human relationships. If you love someone, let him run free. Because if what you have is true, he'll always come back. Because he wants to, rather than being obliged to. I'd never tell you what to do, who to look at, or who to sleep with, as long as I know that I'm the one you plan to keep. But then again, what do I know? I guess all I'm trying to say is, if you really want to do this, let's not put a name on it, ever. Let's just see where it takes us. No, what I want is to not force some idealized model of thought onto something as wonderful as what I feel for you. Let us just live it, without artificially changing the way we act towards each other, for no other reason than because most people would expect us to. If it's meant to last, it will last. Even without this nonsense of jealousy, possessiveness, and these obligatory daily declarations of love some people seem to need in order to reaffirm their feelings for one another. Really? I thought a lot about what you'd say, but... Oh, why am I still talking? Oh, hey. Yeah, sure. I just didn't sleep so well. Too many thoughts, I guess. No, none at all. Tell me, when did you know it? That you wanted to be more than just a friend? And I for men with dark gifts. Not that there were that many, though. Truth be told, the thought of something deeper with you scared me initially. Right until yesterday. I think something blocked me, if you know what I mean. No idea. Maybe. Anyway, so now we're here. Together. And it feels good, in spite of all that's happened. Ironic, isn't it? Adela would have deserved a moment like this so much more than me. She wanted to change the world, to make it a better place, even though she tried to do it with the wrong means. And I was always a taker. Yet now I'm the winner. The only living Dal'Varek. But hey, I'm the winner. I wish I could say that with the same conviction as you do. Bone Judge. Such lunacy. Such idiotic fucking lunacy. I mean, are we so easy to break? Is placing some magical stone in our hands all that the High Ones need to do for something like that to happen? Adela. What did you do? Just what did you do? Anyway, the only way we can make Adela's death count is if we somehow get this beacon thing running and put an end to these monsters once and for all. Yeah, let's do that. But I think a hint of clothing would do you well. Not everyone likes this style as much as I do. That book on the table's for you. Come, read it. The book was written about 5 years ago. Sages from all over the world ridiculed Enderal for his theory on this Lithonia. A foreign country, more than 1 year travel from the outmost coasts of Narim. A bizarre notion, even for the most eccentric cartographers out there. But there was one man who believed him. A rich merchant from Ostian, who put up the money to fund his mission. Well, according to my sources, an eagle bearing a letter recently arrived in Calais. Roth's mission was successful. Lithonia really does exist. Well, how could they? It's no secret the Myrids are afraid of the open sea. And most cartographers were blindly certain of the completeness of the world map. Because of that, there haven't been serious expeditions since the late 5000s. Well, when I left Narim to travel here, there were rumors about a group of explorers who wanted to follow in Roth's footsteps. 3 ships, with enough provisions to last an entire year and a half. I thought about joining them when all this is over. And let's just say I wouldn't mind some company. I have a problem with us living as other people expect us to, rather than making our own future together. Call me a fool, but traveling to an uncharted continent sounds like it goes along quite well with that ambition. Yeah, they're fugitives. People who have lost everything in the Narimese wars. And of course, merchants and adventurers like we'd be. And wouldn't that be great? Something so new, so unscathed, with things to discover that no one's ever seen before. And you love it. You know, it feels good to have some prospects in the midst of all that's happened in the past months. A future that includes another person. I've never had that before. Now, come on. The night's still young. Let's make the most of it. Hey. I don't know. When I woke up, we were here. You were still unconscious, so I took the liberty of carrying you into that room. Just look at that. From here, it all seems so peaceful, untouched, as if all that's happened was nothing but a bad dream. I guess as far as the world's concerned, it doesn't make a difference if we live or die. Now it's up to us.